Hey there! Welcome to this episode of Canadian Retro Things. Now, if you saw my last video, you saw that I received a Apple Disk emulator from Big Mess of Wires, and I put together the acrylic case for the disk emulator. And if you are interested in seeing how one of those acrylic cases goes together, you can check out the link up here, or I'll have one down there too, and you can watch that video. But what I have to do today is I have to take my Apple IIc apart, and I have to get in there so I can disconnect the internal disk drive and hook up the disk emulator so that the disk emulator can be drive 1 so I can boot directly from it. So I guess what we're going to do now is get started taking that Apple computer apart. And here is my IIc. Now, the unfortunate thing with the Apple IIc is it has absolutely nowhere for you to run the ribbon cable from the interior of the computer to the exterior. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to plug it in internally so that it'll be drive 1. And I'm going to take the internal disk drive out. Eventually, when I get a 3D printer, I'll print myself a little case for it. And then I can use it as drive 2. But for now, it'll just be the emulator. And I will run the ribbon cable out the side of the computer where the disk drive is. Okay, so if you look on the back, you've got 6 screws that hold the case on, and then these 4 screws hold the disk drive in place. So let's start taking those apart. There we go. That's all the screws. Now, you gotta put the handle in the down position. And right in the front, there is a, you have to unhook it. There we go. Now we have to disconnect the disk drive. There we go. Now the disk drive, oh, gotta move the keyboard out of the way. And the disk drive should just lift right out. And what I can do is just stick the 4 screws that belong down there back into the bottom of the disk drive. And set this aside. Now, if you notice on the drive, there's the red stripe there, which should be pin 1. Is to this side. So, plugging in the emulator, the red stripe should go to that side. So the emulator should plug in like that. Now, before I go putting this all back together, I'm going to hook this up to the TV and to power and test that everything is working. And I've got the Apple computer hooked up to the TV here. Now, one thing that I was looking at that I've been kind of rethinking taking the disk drive out of here is that there's a center piece here that hooks into the disk drive and gives actually the center of the keyboard some support. This particular keyboard does have a plastic piece along the back of the keyboard board here that does give it some support, but that gives it additional support. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but we'll see. I'll look at some alternatives on how to run this ribbon cable out of the computer. But for now, let's turn it on and see if it works. There. Check disk drive. Okay, and on here, it's asking me to select the disk drive for either Apple II disk, Lisa disks, or Macintosh disks. So Apple, 5 1/4. And now I've got to choose a game. So of course, the first game that we should try on this, let's see, and yeah, it's reading. There we go. See if this works. Haha. See the Oregon Top 10. Interesting, interesting. Okay, well, it seems to be working. So now, like I said, I'm going to look at some alternative ways. Maybe for now I'll just leave the disk drive out and see how that goes for now, while I think of some alternative ways of attaching this disk emulator. So let's get the top put back on this computer. So another thing to look at on this unit is how easy is it to use with a multi-disc game. Well, here I've got Might and Magic 1 loaded up. It's on the title screen, which is disc 1. So hit escape to start the game. Then it asks to insert disc B. All you do is hit the eject button, highlight disc 2, hit the enter button, and disc 2 is in there. Hit return, and there you go. It's loaded up, and you're ready to start playing Might and Magic. Simple as that. So I did a little fiddling around here, and it looks like there's just enough room for the ribbon cable to go out just above the disk drive port in the back here. So that means we can put this drive back in and slot the keyboard in there where it's supposed to be. And the Apple computer is back together. The cable runs out the back here. And I have my floppy drive emulator. So the Apple IIc is all back together and working. The original internal disk drive is back inside the machine, just not hooked up. I am going to see if I can find some sort of an extension cable that I can run outside the computer and plug it in so it could be drive 2. Anyways, as I said, this video was not sponsored by Big Mesa Wires, but I did spend my own money buying this. Nothing was given to me. They didn't know anything about me making a video about this or anything. So it's all my personal opinion, and I think it was a really good purchase. I think it brings a great new life to an old computer. The thing I didn't like about it was having to take all those stickers off of the case that I bought for it, but that case is even just an optional thing. You don't have to get that. You could just have the circuit board. Anyways, I'm going to, I guess, go and play a lot more games on my Apple IIc now, so I'll see you in the next video. And don't forget to leave a comment, give me a thumbs up, or subscribe to the video or to the channel if you enjoyed this video. Yeah, I'm gonna go now.